I'll do a final tightening on that when I have the carburetor on. These connections have been cleaned up so that they're ready to be sealed tight when it's tightened up. That'll be the last thing I tighten. Next is the gasket that I made for the carburetor that's going on the front of the carburetor. Actually, that's in between. I gotta get my linkage hooked up here. Now I left the carburetor on here so I had a little bit more options. It's not necessary to have the carburetor here, but I think the carburetor is going to give me a lot more options as far as how I can run this, and also it gives me the control of the original governor assembly that's already in the engine. So I like having that governor to run the engine, because on a generator, you know, the generator load will increase or decrease, and if the engine can keep up with that load by itself without you having to do anything with valves and whatnot, then you can just leave the engine running and you don't have to worry about anything. So that's why I've left the carburetor attached. Now it's time to get the gasket installed. I have to give this just a little push here, I think. Okay, so that's a tight fit. That gasket does not want to go in there now. Let's see if we can get a little bit more slack to play with here. Just be binding up on the exhaust. Just need a little bit more room to play there. There we go. Okay. That's what we were doing wrong. Alright, so get the bolts put through everything before you tighten up the exhaust. That's a good idea. Snug everything and then tighten, starting with the exhaust. Next, tightening the carburetor, and finally tightening the unions on the bubbler, because they are tapered and they do allow for some movement side to side, back and forth, angle, So you have a little bit of room for error on those. The carburetor and the exhaust, however, don't leave you any room for error. He said the clock on the wall says 3 o'clock. Last call for alcohol. Okay, now time to tighten it up. The tightening is once again going to be the exhaust first. Once the carburetor has been snugged. Now you can see that these bolts were too long. I had to replace the studs that were in here with bolts, so that I would be able to pull the carburetor out of the way and move the assembly backwards to get it off of the engine. Because of the angle here and here, it wasn't going to come off any other way. So, a few modifications. We took the studs out of the exhaust flange and went with bolts, so we wouldn't have that problem there either. So everything can slide on as one assembly, and there doesn't need to be any kind of fitting that is a compression fitting that might leak in the future from vibration. We wanted to make sure we didn't have any vibration issues, so that's why we did this the way we did it. Everything is welded, so there shouldn't be any leaks, but we'll see. So, I've got the carburetor on and it's snugged up. Now it's time to tighten up the exhaust. Okay, exhaust is tight.
Millions of taxpayers are eligible to settle their tax liabilities or a fraction of what they owe, but few are aware of this opportunity, leaving them at risk for wage garnishment, bank levies, and property seizure. Tax Relief USA specializes in tax resolution, matching you with an expert who will negotiate a settlement directly with the
carb is tight. Next, okay, both of those are snug. Now I snug these up good like that, and then I give one massive pull while supporting the bumper. One massive pull. That was kind of wimpy. Okay, that's a good one. Same thing with this one. Once it's snug, make sure I'm not hitting the other pipe, and make sure I give it plenty. Okay, now that should be tight. Now we have our outlet here where I can drain. We have our fitting that's going to our copper tubing, which will wrap around for a vaporizer. I'll go ahead and get that put on, and then it'll be time to put some fuel in here. So we'll be back after that. So there you have it. The oh, well, I guess you can't see very well there, huh? The installed assembly, bubbler, exhaust, intake. It all fits right up underneath inside the original package. Nice and tight. Now we'll see how it works in a few minutes.